Syria stands as a land steeped in history, its roots winding back through the ages. This ancient land has witnessed the rise and fall of numerous civilizations, each leaving behind a rich tapestry of cultural and historical legacies. Located at the heart of the Middle East, Syria has always been a crucial crossroads of civilizations for millennia. Its strategic location made it a melting pot where East meets West, a place where diverse cultures, ideas and traditions converged. Its strategic position made it a prize sought by empires and conquerors, leaving an indelible mark on its cultural tapestry. From the Assyrians and Babylonians to the Persians and Greeks, each empire brought its own influence, enriching Syria's cultural heritage. From the ancient Mesopotamians to the mighty Romans, each civilization left its imprint, shaping Syria's identity. The Romans in particular left behind grand architectural marvels such as the city of Palmyra, which stands as a testament to their engineering prowess. Syria's fertile lands witnessed the birth of agriculture and the rise of early cities. The ancient city of Ebla, for instance, was a major center of trade and culture, showcasing the early advancements in urban planning and governance. It became a vital link on the Silk Road, connecting east to west. This ancient trade route facilitated not only the exchange of goods but also the flow of knowledge, ideas and cultural practices, making Syria a hub of intellectual and commercial activity. The region thrived on trade and cultural exchange, its cities bustling with merchants and scholars. The ancient city of Aleppo, for example, was renowned for its vibrant markets and as a center of learning, attracting scholars from across the world. This vibrant past established Syria as a melting pot of cultures and a cradle of civilization. The diverse cultural artifacts found in Syria, from intricate mosaics to ancient manuscripts, reflect the rich and varied history of the region. The echoes of Syria's illustrious past are visible in its magnificent ruins and ancient cities. These remnants of bygone eras offer a glimpse into the lives of the people who once thrived in this land, their achievements and their contributions to human history. Palmyra, with its towering columns and grand temples, stands as a testament to its Roman heritage. This ancient city, once a thriving center of trade and culture, now serves as a poignant reminder of Syria's glorious past. The Umayyad Mosque in Damascus, once a Roman temple, reflects the region's transition to Islam. This architectural marvel, with its blend of Roman and Islamic elements, symbolizes the cultural and religious transformations that have shaped Syria over the centuries. These architectural marvels serve as poignant reminders of Syria's glorious past and its cultural significance. They stand as enduring symbols of the region's rich history, its contributions to human civilization, and the enduring legacy of the many cultures that have called Syria home. The arrival of the Ottoman Empire in the 16th century ushered in a new era for Syria. Under Ottoman rule, Syria experienced relative stability but also witnessed the gradual erosion of its autonomy. The Ottoman Empire, vast and diverse, incorporated Syria into its administrative structure. For centuries, Syria existed as a province within the empire, subject to its laws and governance. The seeds of nationalism were sown during the late Ottoman period. Inspired by growing Arab consciousness, Syrian intellectuals and activists began to agitate for greater autonomy. The desire for self-determination gained momentum, fueled by a yearning for cultural and political independence. The collapse of the Ottoman Empire after World War I brought about significant changes to the Middle East. Syria, along with other Arab territories, was placed under French mandate. This period witnessed growing resistance to colonial rule. Syrian nationalists fought for independence, demanding an end to foreign control. Their struggle ultimately led to Syria achieving independence in 1946, marking a pivotal moment in its modern history. However, the newly independent nation faced numerous challenges in forging a stable and unified state. The post-independence period in Syria was marked by political instability, a time of great uncertainty and upheaval. The country, having just emerged from the shadows of colonial rule, was struggling to find its footing. Various factions vied for control, each with its own vision for Syria's future. Amidst this turmoil, the Ba'ath Party, espousing Arab nationalism and socialist ideals, rose to prominence. The party's message resonated with many Syrians who were disillusioned with the existing political order. They saw in the Ba'ath Party a promise of unity and progress. a way to reclaim their national identity and build a more just society. In 1963, the Ba'ath Party seized power in a coup, marking a turning point in Syrian politics. This event was not just a change in leadership, but a profound shift in the country's direction. The coup was swift and decisive, with military vehicles and soldiers taking control of key locations in the capital. The party's ideology, centered on Arab unity and social justice, resonated with many Syrians who yearned for stability and prosperity. The Ba'ath Party's vision was one of a strong, united Arab world, free from foreign influence and internal divisions. This vision appealed to a population weary of conflict and eager for a brighter future. Hafez al-Assad, an Air Force officer, emerged as a dominant figure within the Ba'ath Party. His rise was marked by a combination of military prowess and political savvy. Assad was not just a soldier, but a strategist, someone who understood the complexities of power and how to navigate them. Through strategic maneuvering and political acumen, he consolidated his power, culminating in a bloodless coup in 1970. This coup was a masterstroke, executed with precision and without the widespread violence that often accompanies such events. It marked the beginning of Assad's long and influential rule. Assad's rise marked the beginning of a decades-long rule that would profoundly shape Syria's destiny. His leadership style was characterized by a blend of authoritarianism and pragmatism. He sought to maintain stability at all costs, even if it meant suppressing dissent and curtailing freedoms. He established a one-party state, concentrating power in his hands and suppressing dissent. The Ba'ath Party became the central pillar of the state, with all other political activity either co-opted or crushed. This centralization of power allowed Assad to implement his vision for Syria without significant opposition. Hafez al-Assad's rule was characterized by authoritarianism and a tight grip on power. His government maintained strict control over all aspects of life, from the political sphere to the economy. This control was enforced through a network of security services and loyalists, who ensured that dissent was swiftly dealt with. His regime, while maintaining stability, faced accusations of human rights abuses and suppression of political opposition. Critics argued that the price of stability was too high, with many Syrians suffering under the weight of an oppressive state apparatus. Political prisoners, censorship, and a lack of basic freedoms became hallmarks of Assad's rule. The government controlled all aspects of life, limiting freedom of speech and assembly. Public discourse was tightly regulated, and any form of opposition was met with harsh reprisals. This created an atmosphere of fear and compliance where citizens were wary of expressing dissenting views. Despite these restrictions, Syria witnessed economic development and improved living standards for some segments of society. Infrastructure projects, educational reforms, and healthcare improvements were notable achievements of Assad's regime. These developments provided a semblance of progress and modernity, even as political freedoms were curtailed. However, beneath the surface, tensions continued to simmer. The lack of political freedom, economic disparities, and social injustices created an undercurrent of discontent. This discontent would eventually boil over, leading to periods of unrest and conflict that would challenge the very foundations of Assad's rule. While Hafez al-Assad maintained a firm grip on power, his rule was not without its challenges. His leadership, which began in 1971, was marked by a blend of political acumen and ruthless suppression. Assad's regime was characterized by a centralized government that controlled nearly every aspect of Syrian life. This control extended to the media, the economy, and even the daily lives of ordinary citizens. Despite this, or perhaps because of it, Assad managed to project an image of stability and order. However, this facade masked deep-seated issues that were festering beneath the surface. Beneath the surface of stability, simmering discontent brewed among various segments of Syrian society. The diverse population, which included a mix of ethnic and religious groups, often found itself at odds with the regime's policies. The government's heavy-handed approach to governance left little room for political dissent or social mobility. This created an environment where frustration and anger could easily take root. The regime's authoritarian nature, coupled with economic disparities and social inequalities, created fertile ground for resentment and unrest. The economic policies favored those with connections to the regime, leaving many others to struggle. Social services were often inadequate, and the gap between the rich and the poor continued to widen. This economic disparity was not just a matter of income but also of opportunity, with many Syrians feeling that their futures were being stifled by a system that did not work for them. One major source of tension was the Assad regime's favoritism towards the Alawite minority, to which the Assad family belonged, over the Sunni Muslim majority. This sectarian favoritism was evident in the allocation of government jobs, military positions, and economic opportunities. The Alawite community, though a minority, held significant power and influence, which bred resentment among the Sunni majority. This sectarian divide was not just a political issue but also a social one, affecting everyday interactions and community relations. This sectarian divide fueled resentment and a sense of marginalization among some Sunni communities. The feeling of being second-class citizens in their own country led to a growing sense of injustice and anger. This was exacerbated by the regime's use of security forces to suppress any form of dissent, often targeting Sunni communities more harshly. The sense of marginalization was not just political but also economic, with many Sunnis feeling that they were being deliberately kept out of the country's wealth and opportunities. The government's suppression of any form of dissent further exacerbated these grievances, creating a climate of fear and repression. Protests were met with brutal force, and political opponents were often imprisoned or worse. This created an atmosphere where people were afraid to speak out, and those who did were quickly silenced. The use of torture and other forms of repression was not uncommon, and this only served to deepen the anger and resentment among the population. Economic disparities also contributed to the growing discontent. Many Syrians lived in poverty, struggling to make ends meet while a small elite enjoyed opulent lifestyles. The lack of economic opportunities was particularly hard on the youth, who found themselves with little hope for the future. This economic divide was not just about money, but also about access to education, healthcare, and other essential services. The sense of economic injustice was a powerful motivator for many who felt that the system was rigged against them. While some segments of society, particularly those connected to the regime, prospered under Assad, many others struggled to make ends meet. The wealth gap was stark, with luxurious neighborhoods existing alongside impoverished ones. This contrast was a daily reminder of the inequalities that plagued Syrian society. The regime's policies often favored the wealthy and well-connected, leaving the rest to fend for themselves. This created a sense of hopelessness and frustration among those who felt left behind. Corruption was rampant, further widening the gap between the haves and have-nots. Bribery and nepotism were common, and those without connections found it difficult to navigate the system. This corruption affected all levels of society, from the highest echelons of government to everyday interactions. It created an environment where trust in institutions was eroded, and people felt that they had to fend for themselves. This lack of trust in the system only served to deepen the sense of alienation and anger. The lack of economic opportunities, coupled with political repression, created a sense of hopelessness, particularly among the youth. Young people, who should have been the future of the country, found themselves with few prospects. This sense of hopelessness was a powerful driver of discontent, as many young Syrians felt that they had nothing to lose. The combination of economic and political repression created a volatile mix, with the youth being particularly susceptible to radicalization and rebellion. The Assad regime's iron-fisted rule, while maintaining a veneer of stability, ultimately sowed the seeds of its own downfall. The heavy-handed approach to governance created a brittle stability that could easily be shattered. The regime's reliance on force and repression left little room for dialogue or reform. This created an environment where any spark could ignite widespread unrest. The very measures that were meant to maintain control ended up creating the conditions for rebellion. The suppression of dissent, coupled with social and economic grievances, created a powder keg of resentment waiting for a spark to ignite. The combination of political repression, economic disparity, and social injustice created a volatile environment. The regime's inability to address these issues in a meaningful way only served to deepen the sense of alienation and anger. When the spark finally came, it ignited a conflict that would have far-reaching consequences for Syria and the region.